President Biden kicked off day 2 at the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles with a speech to business leaders.
That's right. The president once again is pushing his message of regional unity and cooperation.
None of us will be able to fully realize our ambition for the region on our own. So let's use this summit to tackle the obstacles to growth. Come together around new ideas and new opportunities to take our region's biggest challenges on and defeat them.
CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe joins us now from Los Angeles. Hi, Ed. So we just heard the president speak at day 2 of the summit. Remind us what else is going on there today.
Yes, this was a gathering on the sidelines of the summit of CEOs from large multinational companies who are also here in town, because this is a great opportunity for them to also speak with the leaders of the region and work on their economic development plans in that part of the world. So this was sort of a courtesy to stop by that meeting. He's now headed over here to the main summit site to have some conversations this afternoon with other leaders. And this is all part of an ongoing conversation about a host of regional issues: economic development, health, especially in the wake of the pandemic, and how to make sure that enough people in this hemisphere are being vaccinated against COVID-19, among other health concerns. Talk of a new economic framework, I mentioned that, and then climate change and immigration generally, but not just immigration in the United States, but immigration patterns across the region. Not expected to see many concrete deliverables come out of this meeting, but it is designed to keep these countries in relative cooperation. You heard him there say at the end that he wants this to be the most democratic, lowercase d, democratic part of the world, and that's part of the reason this whole summit, which is held about every 3 years, is being held, usually led by the United States, to encourage the continued development of democracies on this side of the globe.
Ed, this will be the first time President Biden sits down with Brazilian President Bolsonaro. Apparently, there was some back and forth about the content of their meeting. What can you tell us about that?
So the Brazilians had essentially signaled that they didn't want to talk much about climate change or environmental policy. The United States says that all potential topics are on the table, and we'll hear later what exactly they discussed. The concern is that Brazil continues its deforestation policy across the Amazon, which may be good short term for the economy of Brazil, but is pretty bad for the rest of the world when it comes to CO2 levels, given that part of the world has been so helpful, of course, in dealing with that. And so we'll see to what extent the president brings that up. The other issue, of course, is the fact that Bolsonaro, who was tight with President Trump, was among the world leaders who didn't necessarily embrace reality and the results of the 2020 election. And he himself is on the ballot for re-election, though may face a strong challenge from former Brazilian President Lula. So this is one of those kinds of meetings that has great geopolitical intrigue, but also is going to have a big effect back home in the case of President Bolsonaro. These two leaders have not met face-to-face so far. Bolsonaro did not get a phone call or have a chance to speak with Biden after he was elected, because he was kept at arm's length, given what he had done and said in regards to the Trump administration. But it's one of only 2 major face-to-face meetings the president is having, the other one with the Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau, in part because the Mexican president isn't here, and the leaders of the Northern Triangle countries, which the United States obviously has a big concern with, given immigration, they won't be here either.
Ed O'Keefe, thanks so much.